Hi, Kim. How are you today, my friend?
I'm unbelievable.
As always, listen, today we've got a really interesting topic, and I want everyone to lean in. It's about the five major distractions people really have when they decide to start a business for themselves. We're going to talk to you over the next several minutes about some of the distractions and then give you some advice about what are the solutions to some of these distractions. Kim, you've run businesses your whole life. Obviously, working for yourself is different than working with someone else.
Oh, look, absolutely. For me, I've been working for myself since the age of 19. So it's a very, very long time. I've never really worked for a boss. And I learned very early in my beginning at the age of 19 that I had to employ myself because that my first sort of working for myself was also involved with a commission only basis. So you only could earn money if you actually made a sale. So,
Yeah.
it's one of those real important things that you've got to employ yourself.
100%. I think there's a great trend today. I think most people out there are looking today to find a way to make extra income. Some people are employed and they're finding that they are a little bit behind and they're looking for ways to make money to add to the family budget. Or maybe you're, being a woman and you've decided to start the family and now all of a sudden you're at home and you want to start something for yourself. So really this topic today, working for yourself, finding a way in which you can stay on track is really pertinent because I think what everyone's experienced, not here and only in Australia, but on a global scale, who doesn't want to make extra income, particularly around what they're already doing? So that part-time, dare I say, opportunity exists for a lot of people.
Yes, and look, so everything really has to be planned. Number one, and it needs to be scheduled. It has to be. For me, I work off my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it doesn't really happen. So I have slots of time or blocks of time, I suppose, for all different sorts of things, even for date night, or exercising, or all the different parts of what we do. And I know that might sound a little bit clinical, but if you don't put it on paper, if you don't have a plan, guess what? You end up, in some doing nothing, or you end up wasting your time.
Yeah. So that lack of structure and routine is a big problem for a lot of people. Once they find an opportunity for themselves, if they're not structured in dedicating the amount of concentrated time, it becomes almost like a game. And you're not going to really achieve anything in your spare time. You really have to put, like you said, dedicated time and everything into the effort that you're going to put in. Another one, Kim, is digital overload. Sometimes the distraction of the phones and emails and TV and social media. There's so much distraction out there that can get a lot of people off track real quick.
Look, I'm probably the that's one of the things that I'm still working on. I've actually started to, uh, you know, I suppose, unsubscribe to many different things because that number one, hey, there's a lot of subscriptions that I actually don't even open. I just go delete, 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 delete. I'm just wasting my time. So first of all, you need to be focused on what you're wanting to achieve. And that comes with also what we talked about with structure and sort of organizing your schedule. Everything has to really go back to maybe first principles. You've got to find that one thing that affects everything. And if you can focus on that one thing that affects everything in your business, what the thing that you're wanting to achieve, then you can now say, okay, well, I'm going to slot that, but I'm going to make sure that my emails don't get in the way, my social media, my phone, even WhatsApp, for example, WhatsApp. I mute certain groups that I'm in because if I hear a ding, I go, oh, I've got to go and look at my phone. So it can be distracting, especially if you
Yeah.
know the what the one thing that affects everything, and you're in that process, that distraction can pull you off of
Yeah.
that.
So prioritizing really the job that you're really meant to be doing. But the distractions are real. I mean, that social media, that TV, that all that technology can get you off track. There are other distractions though, Kim. I mean, staying on point with what we're trying to give everyone here, if you are working from home, sometimes being at home itself can be a major distraction. I mean, you're at home and all of a sudden you're off point again. You're off task with what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I've found is that, and once you start working for yourself, I've seen many people, and this happened to me as well. Is that you get up in the morning and you go, okay, well, I'm going to be in my my jocks or my boxer shorts, and I'm just going to walk around the house. Okay, I've got to do a Zoom call, so I'll get dressed up halfway. So you're actually not dressed. You're not actually, on purpose for going to work. So I find that it's also important that you should actually set a time and say, okay, if I'm going to be working, I'm going to employ myself just like I would if I was the employer, to employ me for a certain amount of time. And I've got to make sure that I'm going to work, because what you said, you know, there's things like the laundry, some gardening things that you've forgotten to do. You go, oh, I should go and do that. And all of a sudden you're doing, what I call non-productive work. You're sort of making, one of my biggest problems is sometimes procrastination gets me, and I go, oh, hang on, I won't do my bass at the moment. I'll go off and I'll just do that gardening thing that I was going to do, and I try to put things off. So you've got to be very, very careful how you work around your home,
Yeah.
because those distractions can really.
And when we say working around your home, it's also working around your family. And, sometimes you've got to say to the kids or say to your wife, this is, daddy's time, this is mummy's time. I'm doing some work now. I have to make that Zoom call. I have to pay attention to my computer. I have to put those blocks of hours in front of the screen or be on the phone call or do my paperwork. And I think it's also working with the family and putting them on notice, Kim, because at the end of the day, you are going to be pulled and you are going to be tugged, and, people are wanting your time. But if you are dedicated and self-employed to achieve something for yourself and your family in the future, then certainly those conversations, are not hard conversations, but they're conversations that you have to say, this is, time where dad needs to go to work. I am at home, I'm in my office, and I have to have the door closed. So don't come knocking on my door during these hours saying, let's go kick the ball. Or, don't ask, if it's mum, for me to go up there and play with the dolls or whatever. At the end of the day, your time on the task is the time that you've got to spend on your task.
Yeah, not everybody has a place for an office. So, if you don't have that, you need to actually have a set place, even if it's your dining room, you've got to set that, okay, that corner is actually my work when I'm going to work. And then you need to be able to say to your family, look, I've got to close the door. I'm going to be on a call. I need some specific mental time to be focusing on what I need to do. And so you've got to have some of those, I suppose, boundaries, that you're in work mode.
Yeah. One of the other things is a major distraction to being self-employed, and you touched on it earlier, is you can often procrastinate because it becomes really overwhelming to the big jobs that you've got. I mean, you may have some goals to make X amount of thousands of dollars part-time by starting a new venture, starting a new enterprise, building an organization of some kind, or, importing or whatever you decide to do. And it becomes overwhelming. And a lot of people, when they start something for themselves, often pull themselves back, put it in the too hard basket, get overwhelmed, and therefore procrastinate. And that's a major distraction for a lot of people too, Kim.
Look, yeah, I have a little technique where I get a A4 piece of paper, and I do this sort of once a week, mainly on a Sunday night. but I put a four quadrants. I put a big, cross in the A4 piece of paper, and I make it into four quadrants. And I have three specific goals that I want to achieve in the next 90 days, or whatever your focus is. And they're the three most important goals that you have. And in each 1, 2, 3 quadrants. And then I have the fourth quadrant, which is what I call the devil's zone, basically. And that is that I put certain priorities, like, for example, my health is very important to me, so that might be quadrant 2. Quadrant 1 is my recruiting for my business, because I believe that the most important part of building a business is to make sure that you've got the right people working with you. And the third quadrant could be, helping some of the people in your business to do more. But things like picking up the dry cleaning and gardening and some of those things, that goes into the devil's quadrant. And that's leave that aside. As long as I'm doing number 1, 2, and 3, those little things can either be given to somebody else to go and do, where you delegate to, or they're the not most important tasks. So you're actually just working on the three most important tasks.
So there's, the important, and then there's the imperative, that the stuff that you got to get done, and the important stuff, well, I don't really need to get a haircut today, but I don't really need to pick up the dry cleaning just now. I've got to do the other things first. Kim, one of the other distractions, I think, and this is a really important one as well, for people who want to start something for themselves, is the accountability and potentially the isolation. You're by yourself, you're sitting at home, you're not in that work environment, if you are working from home, and you've got the distractions of being at home and all the other things that we've talked about, but you're by yourself. The vast majority of people who are looking to make that extra income sometimes sit in isolation, and they're not really accountable to anyone except themselves. Being self-employed, to who? Where's my boss? You're self-employed to yourself. So let's discuss that one.
Yes, it depends on what sort of business that you're running, and whether you actually have, people that work with you. And sometimes those people can be distracting as well. Sometimes you need to be not too accessible, so that you can be, focused on what you're doing. And you want you to be teaching your people or training your people to become independent. And so there's a lot of different, this could be a completely another big subject that we actually could be covering. But it is important to have some people that if you're by yourself, that you have a buddy. I call them, like, you need to have some association, so that you can bounce some things off, and maybe some accountability to some of the projects that you're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's an overused term a lot, but a good coach or a good mentor is to have around, so you can bounce some ideas off them, and you could be stuck, you don't know where to go, and a fresh set of ears, another set of eyes to a project that you've got in place, particularly someone who's got some experience, can be invaluable. I think, in summary, Kim, there's always a solution to every distraction. There's always a solution to every problem. And hopefully, what we've done here through this call is let everyone know that there are some distractions, but some of the solutions are there. They're obvious, they're simple. Just look out for them and put them in place.
Absolutely. Look, and for anybody out there, one of the key things is to always stay socially connected. By yourself, it's in isolation, it's difficult, but with community, it can be a lot easier. And everything happens with people, and people are really important in any business. So if you've got any questions out there, make sure that you reach out to us. And if you haven't subscribed to us, click on the link to subscribe to both Wayne and myself, and also maybe let us know that if you want to be subscribe to our upcoming newsletter. So we're looking forward to hearing from every one of you. And if you have any questions, let us know.
I want everyone to share this with everyone they know as well. Maybe we can touch some other people's lives because, Kim, that's what we're all about, is helping everyone feel good about themselves and making this world a little bit of a happier and a healthier place. Nice to see you again, Kim.
You too.